Hello there, my little ghosts, and welcome back to another spooky story. Please make sure you claim your tombstone in a graveyard by subscribing to the channel. And if you enjoy my stories, don't forget to leave a like and maybe a comment. And without further ado, let's begin tonight's story. In the shadows of a few villages in China, there are still customs long forgotten by the masses. Customs around life and death, around the proper ways to take care of the deceased and of yourself. There, dead people are feared and respected even more so than the living. I was visiting one of those families to write my paper on the cult of the dead in its various forms around the world. The head of the family, a loving husband and father of two, had passed from a genetic condition at the age of 37. He had been working the fields when he dropped dead, soon to be found by one of the villagers. Even though the family was informed soon after of the dreadful incident, none dared to even think about getting close to the body. Instead, 2 priests had been summoned and paid an ungodly amount to take proper care of the deceased. On my 3rd day there is when the priests were finally able to go retrieve the body and prepare it for the procession. I asked the widow for permission to join them, but I was met with a worried look and a furious headshake. She took me away from the kids on the porch to explain why she did not recommend that I go with the 2 men. She sipped from her tea as she watched the sun descend under the horizon. A freezing cold breeze brushed our faces, and she jumped, spilling some of the tea on her trembling hands. She gulped and looked at me. "You cannot go there," she said. "You must not see the body. No one can but the priests. Too dangerous, too dangerous," she insisted. I was perplexed. Shivering, I asked her to explain why she claimed this was such a bad idea. She offered half a smile, looking down at her feet. "You feel it, don't you? The cold. This is not normal. It is him. He's fighting it." I still could not understand. The puzzled look on my face said it all. She gently grabbed my arm and pointed down the street. The sun was setting close to the point in the distance she was showing me. "They will come from there. You must not be here when they do. Soon we will go inside. Everyone does." Everyone does? Just as she said that, I noticed that indeed, all the grandmas and the moms were calling for the children to come inside. Men and women catching up with them. Doors closing shut. In less than 5 minutes, the long, narrow street was quiet. And soon after that, the bells came. Barely audible at first in the distance, but definitely coming closer. "I'm going inside. I suggest you do the same," she announced, giving me a final look of concern over her shoulder. I could not understand what was happening. How was this woman so cold and moreover so fearful of saying one last goodbye to her own husband? This superstition of bad luck upon seeing the body enraged me. I kept my mind open, however, as I knew I was biased with my own cultural habits when it came to the deceased. A thunder brought me back to my senses. It looked like it was going to rain pretty heavily. The bells were even closer now, perhaps less than 300 yards away. I decided I wanted to look at the procession, for scientific purposes to provide as many details as possible in my paper. So as I was listening to the song of the bells, I advanced towards the street and soon landed on all fours. Before realizing what had happened, I heard the door open behind me and the woman helped me up on my feet again. I had some dirt on my hands and a few scratches, but I was alright otherwise. "Are you okay?" she asked. "Yeah, the damn porch. I forgot about it." The porch was about 6 inches high, and I forgot about it and tripped. The woman smiled. "It's for protection," she assured me. How ironic, I laughed, as I did not understand how a high porch could protect anyone from anything other than a safe landing. I followed my host inside to wash my hands and say goodnight. She retreated into her room, and I was still curious about the procession, so I quietly made my way back outside. I decided to remain on the porch, to watch, and to not intervene in any way. The bells sounded like they were right next to my ear at this point, and soon enough, I saw the first priest. He wore a white robe covering most of his face, and he rang the bells every couple of seconds. He did not seem to notice me. The other priest was nowhere to be seen. I was wondering how one man was going to carry the body alone, and my interest peaked. And just as it did, I saw one other man. He was also covered in white, but there were so many peculiarities about him that I could not make sense of. He seemed to be wrapped in a white cloth that covered everything, including his face. His arms were both stretched out in front of him, and he advanced by hopping. He was hopping about 10 feet behind the first priest. And soon enough I realized he was hopping just about 10 feet in front of the second priest. "But where is the body?" I asked myself, not realizing I did so out loud. That is when I saw the hopping man stop. I gulped. The bells kept ringing in my ears. Upon noticing this, the second priest uttered some words and the hopper resumed his awkward movement. The door opened behind me once again a couple of minutes later. The 3 men were out of sight. I heard a sigh, and I hurried to apologize to the widow for my intrusion. She shook her head and invited me in. "I will call a priest for you tomorrow. I am not upset, but I am scared for you. Tomorrow you will leave, please, for the safety of my family." "I am terribly sorry, I did not mean to." "I understand, but you must also understand. Our customs are not a joke. They can be dangerous if not respected. They can come back." "They? Who are they?" "The dead. He saw you." I'm sorry, I don't think I'm following. There was no dead body carried, we don't touch them. Not even the priests. That is why we need them. They can control the dead. The priests bring them to their burial ground. Those men can look at them, but we as common people cannot. It is too dangerous." "So that was my husband, yes? That one who was hopping was my husband. The body of the dead cannot move like ours, but they are still feared. They can jump, and they sometimes escape the priest's spell. This is why the high porch protects us. They cannot jump that high to reach our houses. Tomorrow, you will be cleaned, and you can go. Please. That is all I ask of you. I do not want him to return to me."